Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. My name is Juan Londoño. Today we're going to discuss, what are we going to discuss? We're going to discuss the best way to learn photography ever. Stick around. Swing by my website, the link is in the description, and put in your email when it prompts you, and you will be raffled in automatically for a free 8x10 signed photograph matted by me if you win. One person chosen randomly every month. Moving on to the topic. So I think, and this is open to discussion, of course, right? That's why we do these videos. And you can put in your comments if you agree or disagree. I think there are three major ways of learning photography, right? And there's a bunch of other stuff, of course, on the sides, but it falls into these categories pretty much, right? The first one I'm going to talk about is school. Now, whether you're learning photography or painting or learning how to program a computer, right? Whatever it is, school is an excellent option. What I believe, though, is that there has to be some level of passion involved when you do it through school, because I've seen probably about, I can't even describe how many photographers that I know that went to school and they ended up doing something else for a living because they went to school to learn photography. More than liking, it was hoping that that would teach them a new trade, something they can earn a living from. It seems like fun, right? It's something that they kind of liked in the first place. But more than anything, it's something they hoped for. So when you combine school with passion, right? I love photography and I'm going to go to school to learn to become better so I know what I'm doing. That's okay, right? You can still spend all that money in school and then because you love it so much, you're going to learn it so well, you're going to be at the top of the list and then you can go and get any job you like, right? Pretty much. I know it's not that simple. You still have to apply, you still have to be in the right place at the right time, blah, blah, blah. But for the most part, we're talking about just generalism here. If you have a passion and you go to school, it's a great combination. Now, the truth is, many of us don't have the money to spend on a 4-year degree in school. So what we do is we may have a job already doing something totally different than our passion. And we decide to learn it from books, videos, and so forth, right? Maybe some online courses that are not that expensive to get us started, right? That's very popular. I've done it for a bunch of things. I learned how to create a YouTube channel. I learned how to use this video camera. I've learned a lot of things through videos, right? And small courses that I bought. So it's not a bad thing. The problem with doing it just by reading books and doing videos is that it's a little drier. It's a little harder to stay focused. It's a little harder to remain dedicated and consistent, especially because life gets in the way, as we know, right? So, and if you have another job, there's just a certain amount of attention you have to give that job, right? So coming home to do videos and take notes and maybe do some classes and, cheaper classes online and read some books, it's fantastic. And if your passion, again, if your passion is there, you will find that motivation and consistency to keep going until you dominate it and you're done, right? You start doing it. And you start doing it on the side as an extra, and then eventually it picks up enough momentum that it's your full-time career. Hopefully. Then there is the third, which I contest is the most important, but we're going to go into some details because it's not always good for everybody. And that is basically just click, 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 click. As many clicks as you can do. Go out there, use your camera, take pictures as much as you can. I'll tell you, when I moved down to Florida from New York City, I lived there for 5 years and I barely picked up my camera. When I moved back to Georgia, I picked up my camera again and I was having some difficulty. The first thing I did was when the whole thing was moving from film to digital. So I picked up a digital camera. That was new. Menus weren't so complicated back then because the whole digital thing was new. So on the flip side, that was a good thing, right? And just the whole composition. I found myself taking pictures and looking at them afterwards and going, why did I take that? Why is my subject in the middle instead of off to the 1/3 line? Or I was doing things that I just never did before because I was out of practice. So the importance of just clicking is, I mean, I can't emphasize it enough. Now cameras have become so intricate and complicated that you kind of do have to spend a little time educating yourself, whether it's going through the manual. When I bought my Fujifilm GFX 100S, man, I sat at my computer with that manual, because they don't ship you manuals anymore. You can either access it through your camera or on the computer. And I went to the Fujifilm website and accessed that manual, and I spent days playing with the camera, wearing out the batteries, just sitting at my desk, playing through the menus. Oh my gosh. And I'm still not 100% comfortable because I haven't shot it enough, right? Back to the click, click, click. My Canon, which I've shot forever, right? That was my first digital camera, and then I've upgraded like 3 times. But it's, you know, and it's a DSLR, by the way. And then the small mirrorless Canon that I have for street photography, you know, the menus have gotten progressively more complicated. So, but I grew with the system, so it's a little easier than jumping into Fujifilm was for me, because I had to kind of learn the whole menu system for Fujifilm. And I like it. It's a good menu system. It kind of makes sense. But hence, I mean, it's a different menu system, so I had to spend time educating myself. But what I'm going down to here, the whole thing is, which one of these is more important? Is it school? Is it self-teaching yourself? Or is it just getting out there and clicking, right? All three have pros and cons, right? School is expensive, and if you don't have any passion, it's a waste of time. That's it. That's how simple it is. If you're passionate and you have some money to spend, or you can take out a loan and you think it's worth it, and you know you're going to dedicate your life to this, I can't stop you. Nobody can stop you. You're going to get into that school. You're going to be burning inside to learn. You're going to practice every minute of the day that you can, and you're going to be the best photographer in the world. And God bless you for that, right? Go out and do it. The cheaper way is the second one I talked about, which is self-learning. That has pros and cons as well. Much cheaper. You control your own pace, right? So if you got other things going, you control your own pace. The disadvantage here, the biggest disadvantage, is to stay motivated. If you have a lot going on in your life, and work is in the way, and family, and all these things are lovely, but they're part of your life, then you're going to find that self-teaching yourself is a little complicated, because you're going to do an hour here, an hour there, an hour 3 weeks later, and then before you know it, it's like, I forgot what I learned at the beginning. I have to go back and start over. And I've done that with other topics, right? Photography I started when I was very young, self-taught, but I was so passionate nobody could stop me. I used to buy magazines, I gobbled them up. Oh my gosh, I talked to everybody that knew photography, about photography, learned shortcuts. Everywhere I went, I had a camera on me, and that was the film days. And then I jumped into digital, and just kept going and going and going and going, right? So that's why I think that the third one we talked about, which is just clicking, is excellent. Because even before I knew a lot, I just knew the basics in film. Aperture, ISO, which is called ASA, and shutter speed, right? And that's all I needed. There were no menus, right? It was a film camera. So I went out and I did the best I could. And I took notes, and then I'd look at the pictures, because you couldn't see anything. The camera had nothing to look at. So you took the picture, you took notes of what your settings were, and when you got the pictures where you looked at the notes you took, and you went, oh, I see what I did wrong here. That aperture was way too open. My picture's overexposed. Okay, I got it. With this type of light, I'm going to use about 5.6 aperture and about a shutter speed of 1/25, ISO 100. Okay, I can remember that. There was a little memorization going on there, but it led to learning. It led to understanding our cameras. And when we jumped into digital, having the menus and having all this stuff adjustable, including the ISO, was fantastic, because we understood it so well, right? So it was just an extension at that point going forward. So if you start by clicking and just going out there, just know the basics. Know what aperture is and what it does. Know what shutter speed is and what it does. And know what your ISO is and what it does. And if you learn those three, the Trinity, the Holy Trinity of photography, that'll get you out into the street on manual. You don't want to, If you want to start an automatic, it's not the end of the world. What you can focus, if you start an automatic, focus on no pun intended, is focus on your composition. You can do that. And I tell people many times, start an automatic, work on composition. Learn the rule of thirds, all these things, right? Empty spaces. Practice all of that. Give yourself an assignment. 1 week I'm going to use the rule of thirds. Everything is going to be in thirds. Excuse me. For the next week, everything's going to be in the center. For the next week, everything I shoot is going to be, empty spaces, lots of empty spaces. And just practice all the rules of composition so you know they exist, so you're comfortable using them, right? Foreground, background, get some other stuff in the picture besides the subject. And before you know it, that'll be done. You can check that off and you can move on to manual mode. And then what we talked about earlier, aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. Work on those three. Don't worry about all the other things the camera does. Yes, it does a lot of things that are going to affect those, but right now that's not important. You work on those three. Get comfortable, like driving a manual transmission car. You get comfortable first with an automatic, so you learn the rules of the road. You know how to stop, you know how to go, you know how to turn, right? Get comfortable with the car. And then when you've done that for a few months or a year, then you jump into a manual transmission. And now you know all that stuff. Now you just have to focus on the transmission, right? The shifting. Now, back in the day, we started with manual transmission right off the bat. There's nothing wrong. It worked, right? But it was more difficult. So if we can make it easier, why not, right? Same with the camera. You start with an automatic. You learn composition. You learn how to hold it. You learn how to, judge the battery time. All those things that matter. And you might even try different cameras to see what you like. And then you jump into, and you can borrow them, you can lease them, right? Rent them. And then you pick the camera you want, and then now you shoot in manual, and you get better and better and better. So learning on your own is fine, but you have to set up some rules and some kind of like an agenda for yourself, right? So I'm going to learn composition first, then I'm going to learn the Holy Trinity, and then I'm going to jump into the menu of the camera and learn what all these focusing all the different focusing techniques and all these things that the camera has modes, right? Shooting modes, and so on and so forth. I'll end by saying that, I know friends that are in other disciplines, programmers, right? Computer programmers, and they learn on their own. And what I found just by sharing, time with them is that over a period of time, they were better than many other programmers because they loved it so much, they learned it on their own. But even they admit they got to a point in their career where they started to hit the ceiling because there were some things that they never learned in school, complicated topics like data structures and things that pertain to computer programming, right? They never really learned that well, so they hit kind of a ceiling and they had to go to school to learn those things, and they ended up getting a degree, and they were such good programmers to begin with, the degree came very easily and very quickly. And then they got that out of the way, and then they continue to grow in their career. So the same thing can happen here. You might start like me with a camera, going out, right? Understanding the basics, like I said, right? Learn how to shoot an automatic, learn the three, aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. Learn how to manipulate those three in manual mode. Get out there, make mistakes, right? You have a digital camera now, you can look in the back. If it doesn't work, adjust, shoot again till you get it right. And that's gonna get you very familiar with the camera. And very attached to your camera, because once you learn it, you're going to go, oh my gosh, I've become so good at understanding my camera. You're going to really love your system, right? That's why people become fanboys of Canon, Nikon, Fuji, Sony, whatever, because they learn on a particular model and then they become so attached to it. I learned on Canon, and I was a Canon fanboy for the longest time. For me now, these are tools, and I have different cameras for different applications, right? So they don't mean as much to me as they used to in terms of a brand. Now each camera brand offers different things to me, and I just go with different makes depending on what I need. And in the future, different camera companies are going to offer different things, and I may jump ship and sell what I have and whatever. So I don't want to make this any longer. Just keep in mind, these are the three methods I believe that the best in terms of learning your camera, finding your limits, is going to be to get out there and shoot. And then like my friends that reached that plateau, right, in programming and then had to go to school to learn a few things, the same is going to happen to you. You're going to get out there and you're going to go, okay, I'm taking some beautiful pictures, I'm getting compliments, I've learned my camera, I learned the basics of photography, but I'm finding that editing is difficult back on the computer, right? Or I'm finding that I don't know how to use lighting as well as I thought. Natural lighting, artificial lighting like I have here for this video. I have lighting here in front of me that gives me this, I have my hand here, that gives me this light that you're seeing. It's a very broad, even light, so the whole side. I have a very dim light above, which is not making it so that there are too many shadows. I have a sharp little light back here, which is making this highlight so that my face doesn't get lost against the background, right? And I have a light on in the back, and I have a soft light here in the living room that kind of just lights evenly here. You can see you see the lines on my face, right, from these lights, right? So you see how these lights are there. If I don't do that, it doesn't look like a light is there, right? But when I do this, you can see this light, you see the shadows from this light, right? This one that I have here, you see the highlighting my face. So you learn to use lights. Best way to do that is set things up, take some pictures, set them up differently, take some pictures, get a model, a friend, a cousin, a brother, a sister, a daughter, somebody, your wife, your spouse, just to pose for you for an hour and play with the lights, play with your camera, right? And then you're going to hit a plateau. And then if you hit a plateau, you take a cheap class online, or you go to one of the local colleges that teaches photography courses at night, and you take a lighting course, right? $99, $150, 2 hours, and you learn the basics of lighting, right? And then all of a sudden you start breaking these plateaus and you get better and better and better. So that's all I leave you with, right? It was a very basic video. I hope that it makes sense. Let me know if you agree, disagree. You may have done it a completely different way that I didn't talk about. Let me know. Let the rest of us know so we can argue back with you. I love you guys. I love these chats. I hope that everybody's doing well. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Sunday afternoon? Give me a second here. Oh my gosh, it's still morning. Sunday morning here in Atlanta, Georgia. It's beautiful today. You can see the sun is coming through all the windows. Take care of yourselves. My water wasn't at my table, but I've been drinking water all morning. Take care of yourselves in terms of vitamins, food, stay hydrated, right? Stay safe always while you're out there doing photography. And I will catch you all in the next video. Ciao for now.